Hello everybody and welcome to Connor Sports Talk. Today I'm going to be continuing my series on reviewing all the NFL teams. Right now I'm going to do the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to be fun because I'm a Saints fan. And that's sarcastic because I know that the Falcons are a really good team. Not much I can do about that. So let's start with the quarterback, Matt Ryan. So let's look at his stats of this year, 2016. So he threw for 4,944 yards, which was for second best, only behind Drew Brees. And 38 touchdowns, which was second best, only behind Tom Brady. And 7 INTs. And then the best QBR with 83.3. And he won the MVP. So it's needless to say he had a really good season this year, I know. I never thought that Matt Ryan was a bad quarterback. I thought he was a good quarterback, but not on a top tier. The problem is, every time that Matt Ryan has a good year, he usually follows it up with either a mediocre to good season. But what I mean by that is I don't know, he doesn't have a bad season. He has a slightly above average season. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like every year or so, okay, how about this? So every 3 years he has a really good season. And then in the time span of those 3 seasons, he has a great year, a good year, and a mediocre year. I can't explain it, it just happens. I think it was in 2014 when the Falcons went, they went 6-10, I believe. I remember people saying should they drafted another quarterback because he was not playing well at the time. It might have been the 2013 when they went 4-12, but I can't remember. Either way, it wasn't too long ago. People were questioning if Matt Ryan was a franchise quarterback. And I never questioned that. I always thought that he was a top 10 quarterback because, as a Saints fan, he usually puts up big numbers on the Saints. So, I know what he's capable of. And I think he's actually going to back it up this season. So, what I think he's going to do, let's say 4,400 yards with 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So he's going to back it up with another MVP caliber season. The thing that amazes me about Matt Ryan, that besides Julio Jones, he does not have any top tier wideouts. He just spreads it around. Julio Jones was the only wideout who had 1,000 yards. But let's look at their wideouts. So Julio Jones, who's only 27. So he's right in his prime. He had 1,409 yards this season, which is, believe it or not, about 400 less than he had last season, or 2 seasons ago, I guess, in the 2014-15 season. So, I mean, that's just crazy. And with his total 1,409 receiving yards, his second best. He had 6 touchdowns, which I'm actually surprised about that. I know that he at least missed 1 game. That's for sure, because he had that ankle issue. I know that I was hoping that Julio Jones was gonna miss a game against the Saints. That didn't happen, if I remember correctly. So he has 6 touchdowns. And then he had 83 receptions, which was only 18th best. So I can assume that he missed more than 1 game. It didn't show how many games he played. I should have looked that up. But that just shows how good he is. That's crazy. Just imagine if he got more receptions. But like I said before, Matt Ryan just passes around similar to what Drew Brees does. And then Mohamed Sanu, which was their second best wideout. In which he had 653 receiving yards with 59 receptions and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's not a number 2 wideout to me at all. Like, how did Matt Ryan get almost 5,000 receiving yards? I mean, passing yards. I mean, that's crazy. That he's able to just. I mean, the Falcons receiving core, they don't have like any like real names except besides Julio Jones, obviously. But like, I guess they have a lot of like middling talent that can actually like produce like 300 yards because they had a crazy amount of those players. So what am I predicting Julio Jones to do next season? And I say 1,500 yards. Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm going 10 touchdowns. There's, if he plays the full season, of course. And then Mohamed Sanu, and I say 750 with 6 touchdowns. Let's go to their tight ends. I will put Taylor Gabriel. I forgot to write down his exact number, but I remember it being in about the 500s and with 4 touchdowns, which is very remarkable. I mean, that's the thing about the Falcons. They can just turn unremarkable players into contributors. Let's look at their tight ends. So I kind of clumped Austin Hooper and Jacob Tamme together because they had similar enough stats, and again, they were mediocre, at least stats wise. I remember Austin Hooper had some nice games, but other than that, I mean, their tight ends were nothing to speak about. So Austin Hooper had 271 receiving yards with 3 touchdowns, and Jacob Tamme had 216 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. The only weakness that I really see on the Falcons is their receiving core. And they're lucky that they had Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, who can both really catch the football. I mean, they both had over 400 receiving yards. If I was the Falcons, I don't know. I mean, they couldn't draft a wide out in the first round because all of them were gone. All the top tier talent on wideouts were gone. But like, they really need another wide receiver. That's their only, or tight end. That's the only weakness that I see on their team, honestly. So let's go back to the running backs. Devontae Freeman. I view him as a, if not a top 5 running back, then definitely a top 10. Similar to Mark Ingram, he can run the ball and catch the ball. He had similar stats to Mark Ingram. To a certain extent. He had 3 more touchdowns in him, and I think maybe like 200 more total yards. So rushing, he had 1,079 rushing yards, which was good for 9th in the league, and 11 rushing touchdowns, which was good for 6. 462 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. So what am I expecting him to do next season? My guess, let's say 1,200 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns with 3 receiving touchdowns and 400 receiving yards. Let's move on to Tevin Coleman. I honestly believe that Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman are probably the best running back duo. I mean, yeah, Tevin Coleman almost had 1,000 yards total. So that's crazy. And then Devontae Freeman had 1,500 total yards. I mean, that's crazy. That's about 2,500 total yards. Okay, Tevin Coleman. He had 520 rushing yards, which is good for 35th. So he's a really good backup. He could honestly be a starter, based on the fact that he's 35th and there's 32 starting running backs. I mean, that's really good. He had 8 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving, and he had 421 receiving yards. I mean, they have really good running backs. Like I said before, it's lucky that both running backs can catch the ball, because if they couldn't, then their offense would probably be stagnant because of the lack of wide receivers and tight ends. I mean, they have Julio Jones, and Sanu's a good number 3 wideout, but he's no number 2. So what do I expect Tevin Coleman to do? Let's say 500 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, 600 receiving yards. I have a feeling that they're going to rely on Tevin Coleman for the receiving game a good bit. No, 600 is way too high. Let's say 500. And let's say 6 receiving yards. 6 receiving touchdowns with. Let's keep it at 8 rushing touchdowns. Oh yeah, I forgot to predict what Austin Hooper and Jacob Tam is gonna do. So I'm predicting that Austin Hooper is gonna have a breakout season of sorts. I predict that he's gonna have, let's say, 550 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. Well, Jacob Tam has 350 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So it's gonna be a tight end by committee. I have a feeling that I don't know, like, the offense is gonna rely on the halfbacks and the tight ends, really, with Julio Jones. And that's another thing. Let's talk about their offense just in general. What does Shanahan moving on mean? So this is one of the best offenses we ever seen in the league history, I guess. Obviously the best offense by the Falcons standards. Can they back it up without Shanahan? It's not that they don't. It's not like Matt Ryan doesn't have the talent. I just don't think he has the talent around him to produce this good of an offense compared to last year. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be bad by any chance. It's still going to be top 10 just because of Julio, the running back, and the running backs, and Matt Ryan. Those 4 players are pretty good. I mean, it's hard to say that there's a better run-backing core that can both catch and run. And then it's hard to say there's a better wideout. And Matt Ryan is definitely a top 7 QB. You can debate about top 5 or not. But I don't know. Now let's go to their special teams and defense. So Matt Bryant was 34th for 37, and that was 91% kicking percentage, which is really good. Let's look. Let's look at their defense. So Deion Jones, he had 75 tackles, which is really good for a rookie. He was middle. I believe he either played middle linebacker or outside linebacker. Pretty sure he played middle. He had 3 interceptions and 2 touchdowns, and he got pick 6 off of Drew Brees. So that's saying a lot. Vic Beasley, the second-year player, I believe he 2 years ago he had in his rookie season he had like 4 or 5 sacks. He came back, got 6 6 forced fumbles, 15.5 sacks, and 32 tackles. So, arguably the best outside linebacker in the NFC. Last year, at least. Let's see if he can back it up. And then Keanu Neal. Rookie, strong safety. 5 forced fumbles and 72 tackles. I mean, he's an extremely hard hitter. I saw a bunch of highlights and plays with him. I remember this one play, the Saints were playing the Falcons, and Willie Snead caught the ball, or what? I guess you can count as a catch. So it was a deep throw by Drew Brees. He threw along the sideline. Willie Snead catches it, and you just see Keanu Neal just nail out Willie Snead. He loses the ball, and the ball was ruled a incompletion. So he's really good. And then Desmond Trufant. He only played 9 games. He's definitely one of the best corners in the league. He's underrated. He had 1 interception and 2 forced fumbles. He's gonna come back. I'm predicting this year he's gonna have 5 interceptions. I forgot to do predictions for Vic Beasley. I'm predicting he has 12 sacks. There's no way that he has 15.5 sacks again. I mean, that's just a crazy amount. But 12 sacks is extremely respectable. That's like top 10. Or upwards. Let's look at their additions. Well, actually, no. Let's look at their offensive line first. So they have a fairly underrated offensive line. Pro Focus rated them as 6. That's definitely anchored by Alex Mack. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He was ranked the second best center. So I also want to mention Jake Allen. I believe he's in his 3rd or 4th year. I mean, he's going to his 4th year, or he's either going to 4th or 5th year. Last year was either his 3rd or 4th. So it wasn't as good as the year prior. The year prior he was really good. This year, in the words of Pro Football Focus, he plateaued. I kind of recognize that too a little bit. I mean, it's not like he had a bad season. He just didn't provide what we expected. Okay, now let's look at their major additions. Okay, let's look at DeAndre Poe. So he only had 27 tackles for a second and a half. So the thing is, though, he's a nose tackle, meaning that he's more focused on eating up space and helping on the run game. But I said only 27 tackles, but that's actually a lot for a nose tackle, or just a tackle in general. So this defense is going to be fairly good. I have a hard time believing that's going to be outside the top 15. Like, he's extremely good against the run. Like, that's why the Chiefs were so good against the run. That's where he came from. But that's why the Chiefs were so good. He's going to make this defense a lot better against the run, which was kind of their weakness before. Okay, Duke Riley off LSU. I don't know why Falcons always pick people from LSU 2 years in a row. So Duke Riley, he had 93 tackles, a sack and a half, 4 solo tackles, and 1 INT. He's going to be playing outside linebacker, I believe. So their linebacker core is going to be young, but presumably good. And then Takk McKinley. He had 10 sacks. I really wanted the Falcons to pick him up. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I believe that the Falcons didn't have a first round. No, they had to. Yeah, they had to. But I feel like they traded up to get Takk McKinley before the Saints, which wouldn't make sense because the Saints had 32 and they had 31st, I believe. So I don't know why they traded up to get him. I can't remember. But yeah. my predictions. So the best case scenario, let's say 14-2. That could be really good. That's assuming that they're all healthy, and Shanahan's departure doesn't affect them as nearly as bad as people are expecting it to. Well, on prediction, what am I predicting? 11-5. I mean the rest of the NFC South is fairly competitive, and I don't know. I just can't see them going 14-2 right now. I mean, I don't know. They have plenty of talent. I just can't see it happening. Them reaching the upper echelon of really good regular season. Worst case scenario, 9-7. Similar how I don't see them being as great as 14-2. I cannot see them going below 500 or not having a winning season at all. I mean, I can't see them being below 9-7. Their roster's too talented, unfortunately, coming from a Saints fan. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to share. Thank you.